Now, David Bowie is as much of an enigma in death as he was in life. But before he passed away, Bowie gave a few lucky filmmakers full license to interpret his final album, Black Star, for themselves and to use his music however they wished on Instagram. The result is a video project called Unbound. Jade Barker caught up with the producers.
They were only 15 seconds long, offering short glimpses of otherworldly scenes. And a less discerning fan may not even realise the music behind these videos comes from legendary musician David Bowie's final album, Black Star. The video series, released on social media platform Instagram, is the brainchild of filmmaker Carolyn Cecilia and Bowie's longtime digital media advisor, Lawrence Perrier.
I've worked with David Bowie in a variety of capacities over the last 15 or so years. I ran a company that he was a co-founder of for a while called Ultrastar. And David has always used emerging platforms and new technologies and certainly visual media as components of his art over the years. And last summer, his team assembled to talk about the setup for what ultimately turned out to be the Black Star album. And in that initial meeting, we were tasked with coming up with some ideas to see what was out there, see what was new and fresh since his last album came out. And very early on, the notion that David was interested in Instagram came out onto the floor. It was always important to him, especially in the last 10 or 15 years, to figure out new ways to reach fans and to communicate with fans and to broaden the fan base, take his art to new people.
It didn't come as much of a surprise then when Perrier suggested using the Miniseries, an account on Instagram that produces short videos, that Bowie jumped at it. But perhaps more surprising for an artist with such a strong identity and visual style was that he completely handed over the creative reins to his collaborators.
Well, first they brought us into the room in October to hear the album, and I went into that meeting with what I refer to as a scaffolding, just a basic idea, knowing nothing about the album, but how could you represent a piece of work like that on Instagram 15 seconds at a time. So we came in and we sat down and we heard it for the first time, and we only got to hear it once from start to finish, and I just took notes like one after another, and I focused mostly on the musicality of the album. So when the sax came in, or when we heard piano, or when it had a really driving force, or when it was more mellow and subdued, instead of the lyrics, because we didn't have the lyrics in front of us. We didn't know what the lyrical content was about. So I took that was my motivator, was just listening to the music and trying to figure out what the mood was for each track.
The result was 16 episodes shot over 10 days by Carolyn Cecilia, Perrier and Miniseries founder Nikki Borges. Using music from every song on the album, the creators described the videos as a visual interpretation of Bowie's songs.
That was patrol. That was patrol.
Itself is not a linear narrative. So if you're sitting down to try and figure out a plot line, you would be doing yourself a disservice. What I've done is I've treated the series as if it was a collection of short stories. So what you're seeing is a very specific moment in time for each of these characters. And as the writer, I can tell you where they came from and where they would be going if this one universal event had not occurred to all of them. But what was important to me is that I not do that I not fill in every little hole or question for the audience. I wanted, the same way that Bowie never explained his music, I wanted people to go in and be excited and find the interpretation for themselves and just connect to an emotion.
Bowie's album was kept so under wraps that even those working on the videos didn't know what it was for or even get to hear the music.
We just wanted to let everybody know that we just got word that we can play the track for you.
Oh, nice. We get to hear it. We're walking
There were two episodes in particular where we needed it. One where we had dancers and one where we worked with a singer. And so we had to have the music available to us then. But other than that, the album was kept very much under wraps. For a long time there, it was supposed to be a surprise album. Nobody was supposed to know it was coming out at all. So Lawrence and I were very particular about keeping the music secret.
During pre-production, when the choreographer had to work with the dancers, we didn't release music to them. One of the other producers took a segment of music that matched the beats per minute in the track and gave that to the dancers to use, and they only heard it for the first time when they performed their scene on set.
But while Bowie gave the filmmakers free rein, he did send some feedback.
The suggestion had to do with a drummer in one of our scenes. He requested a certain age range of child that he wanted to play drums, and we don't know why, but we were happy to do so.
Yeah, initially in the treatment, Carolyn was very specific for each scene. The type of character or the type of person she wanted to cast for, sometimes even using names of people, and it was one of the most specific notes that I've ever gotten on anything, and it was basically no, not any of those suggestions. It needs to be a boy between the age of 10 and 13.
But you never got to ask him why.
The album Black Star came out on Friday, January 8th. Insta Miniseries was supposed to be announced on the 15th and start launching the following Monday. So we woke up on the morning of the 11th to the news, and you know, it was devastating.
We were just heartbroken. We had spent so much time just immersed in his world. I had done so much research. I had watched so many videos wanting to give him something new and fresh for his canon, and absorbed in the album and how beautiful it was. And it wasn't until he was gone that it all made sense.
Look up here, I'm in heaven. I've got scars that can't be seen.
Many are still trying to make sense of Bowie's work. For some, he'll remain as much of an enigma in death as he was in life. But the iconic rock star will live on in many iterations through his music, unbound by the mortal world. Jada Barker, TRT World, New York.